To this Constitution, Act of the National Assembly may provide for the establishment and regulation of separate public services of the government. What it is saying, this should be prescribed by an act of the National Assembly for the establishment and regulation of separate public services of the Gambia, which may include common services for the staff of the local government authorities or the staff of public enterprises, and such act shall include provision for the appointment or election of a competent authority for the administration of the particular public service. The function of the public service and may provide for an appointing authority other than the Public Service Commission for the service. Any such particular public service shall form part of the public service of the Gambia. So essentially, we would anticipate that as you take charge of your function, we will see the parallel institutions that may also be carrying out functions similar to yours, and hopefully we'll be able to get a recommendation whether that is the most efficient way of handling the public service, or there may be recommendations of a better way. So we have received your report, and the report had indicated your functions, delineated them on the page 7 of the report into 14 aspects which merit our consideration. You've indicated appointments as your function, contract appointment as an element of that, promotion, secondment, transfer of service, to the leave with salary, to the leave without salary, leave of absence, redesignation, dismissal, resignation, retirement, termination, reinstatement. You have given us a clear assessment of these functions being carried out in 2017, 2018, and 2019. We have the data. You've also indicated the responsibilities you carried out. So it is important, therefore, that we look at the details and get from you what the challenges were in carrying out such functions and what you deem necessary to be able to at least give support to your institution so that it can attain greater viability. We have seen on the chapter 3, you talk about the delegated authority. So it is important that we understand the acts that provide for those delegated authority, so that we understand what the Constitution says to be delegated authority established by statute, or are they just delegated authorities established by administrative convenience? So if that is the case, should that be the way forward? So we are assessing the situation, and we hope that based on what is really going to be provided, we will be able to gather more information. Now we have seen the various grades and the various posts, and it is important to look at what your recommendations are going to be regarding the grading system and what should actually be done, whether you are overburdened with actually appointment procedures leading to certain recommendations that may also lead to legislative reform. So Chair, you are clearly here to help us to assess properly the work of the Public Service Commission and give the best practice the due that it needs, the support it needs for continuity and development, and the challenges, the due attention they need to address them, to ensure that whatever is derailing your progress would actually be out of your way. So essentially, that is what we are here for today, to try as much as possible to center our discussion on your activity report and see what we can say and ask to be able to get further elucidation or clarification so that we are better suited to have a report that fairly represents the state of affairs of the Commission for our final report. That said, member, let me put the question that having submitted the activity report of the Public Service Commission for the year ended 31st December 2017, 2018, and 2019, having received the presentation of the said report, that the committee now proceeds to consider the report for final adoption if the reports represent a true and fair view of the state of affairs of the Public Service Commission. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those not in favor say no. The ayes have it. Now, members, you can proceed to raise your question. Yes.
Yes. Page 10.
Page 10.
10.
Page 10 of the report.
Yes.
Go ahead.
It's obtained the increase in the transfer of services from government to other institutions. You have 2017 82, 2018 142, and 2019 is 556. So it means it's increasing year by year. Have we make any research to know what is the cause of this, and to make sure that it doesn't continue?
Chairman?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
I said there's an increase.
Attrition rate.
Transfer of service from government to other institutions. You see, it has increased from 2017, 18, 19. So do we make a research to know the reason why this is happening?
No, thank you very much, Chairman. I was going to comment on the Chairman's speech, but I think we can go straight to a response to this, really. I would come to Chairman's intervention. No, well, this is the only time that we have an opportunity to have an insight. You know, hitherto, the preparation of this document, we've not had statistics. Now that we have statistics, we are able to look into what the problems are. Certainly, transfer of service is not an actual problem as such, because it's from one institution to another government institution. Usually, the Commission is in a position to determine whether such transfer is beneficial to the receiving institution. Yeah, of course, we look at why this request has been made, and is it in the interest of the service and so on. Yeah, sometimes it's necessary because in certain establishments also you may have heavy manpower. So if we are able to dislodge that to another sector, it could be beneficial. Just like how we see secondment also. We're talking of transfers. But certainly transfers normally happen only between governmental institutions. Yeah.
Okay, Chair, let me just alert your mind to
yes.
what the report says.
Yes.
maybe then you can understand the direction of the question of the member. The report says, this implies that, after quoting the figures, he said, this implies that the rate of transfer of people leaving central government increased during the period under review. Therefore, it is important to establish whether the increase in the exodus is as a result of conditions of service or issues of motivation within the civil service. So he's asking you to explain whether have you done sufficient investigation to be able to answer the question you've raised. You posed it as a question, but the question is yet to be answered. That's why he raised the question.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
And as we said, it's not for you to answer all the questions. If you wish, you can always refer the question to anybody who is a holder of such brief in your institution.
Yeah, PMO is around actually. Maybe the commission is having an insight into the overall condition of the civil service ourselves. I think we are in a better position rather than PMO. No, we are all aware that the conditions of service in the civil service has actually not been actually marketable. I mean, low salaries. I mean, the incentives are very limited, and even in the increases of what we call salary increases are really nominal. They are nominal. Of course, the parastatals or the institutions, governmental institutions, agencies, and so on outside have better incentives, more incentives, in fact, and the pay increases, facilities are more in existence in the outside the governmental institution than in government itself. These institutions, of course, they are smaller, and of course they are able to provide more incentives for their staff, while government really considers the whole civil service. So increases or condition of service improvement takes a bit of time actually. So we are aware. I mean, this is why recently government has come up with a package in terms of restructuring, in terms of pay increases, in terms of increases in the salaries also. Of course, you would recall the health pensions bill, or now an act, Health Pensions Act. It's also part of that package. I mean, that was essentially to help improve the condition of service of public servants. Yeah. Maybe I think I can let our secretary also comment. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Secretary, could you add?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I just want to add that it is as a result of all of these difficulties facing the civil service. And so when you come to even leave of absence, you see a certain trend. When you come to even secondment, you see a certain trend. And that is why with the change of government in 2016, starting 2017, government kind of looked at the condition of the civil service. And because this trend was not very, very helping, then the commission at the level of PMO established a kind of a motivation scheme in the form of civil service loan scheme. And at the PMO, this loan scheme comprised of personal loans, also comprised of housing loan, and also comprising of car loan. So with the loan scheme that was financed, was given a lot of money to PMO, or given allocation to PMO, and this loan scheme was created. And a special unit was created called the Civil Service Loan Scheme Unit. And that gives loans to civil servants to have access to personal loan, to look after their personal matters with low interest rate. If I can remember, it's between 1% and 2%. So the percentage is very low. And we hope that in our subsequent report, 2020-2021 report, we are expected to see a trend, because we can see that a lot of people were very much interested in that loan, and there was a lot of beneficiaries of this loan. And the objective is to retain people. My colleagues are here. I used to sit in the committee. A lot of people applied. A lot of senior civil servants benefited. They got their houses. They got their compounds were built. They got government vehicles and vehicles that were given to them, and half of it will be paid by government. So if it is $500,000, so government will pay $250,000, and you as a beneficiary will pay $250,000. So as a result of all of this package, there is a kind of stability, especially at the top. If you may recall, before 2017, there was high attrition, especially at the top. So, but now with the loan scheme, almost all these senior civil servants became beneficiaries. And once you benefit, there are a little bit of conditions attached. So you cannot just, radically leave the civil service like that. So it has really helped people to get their, houses, get their cars. So, and sometimes these are some of the things that we are looking for as civil servants. And if you talk to some of our colleagues now in other government parastates, they really are very much interested in this type of facility, of which they are not. But we are hoping that, Chair, so with our subsequent report, we will assess whether this one has the schemes that has been established has an impact on the stability or retention of civil servants. And of course, if the Assembly requires, we should be able to provide the establishment of that loan scheme at the level of the PMO, which we can establish. So that once it is submitted, then our subsequent report will kind of see whether there is stability attributed to all of these opportunities that are provided.
Supplementary question? Yes. Thank you. My supplementary question is, if we go back to the vision of the PSC as an institution, it says to be a highly independent, competent, transparent, accountable public service commission with the ability to identify, recruit competent and qualified personnel to ensure an effective and efficient civil service. I underline the word effective and efficient civil service. But what you are saying, the portion that we heard from you is about giving loans as a motivational factor. Now what we are trying to tell you, if you look at your report, page 12, it says, unlike appointment, transfer of service register a rise from 82 transfer in 2017, 142 in 2018, and representing 42% rise.
That's page 10, yeah.
Page 12, yes.
Page 10.
I'm at page 12.
Okay, there's a
yes, maybe it's a different.
Yes, page 12.
Page 12, yes. There's this rise in the trend of transfer of service from the central government to other bodies indicate losses of talent. Talent from the civil service. This, in the long term, would impact negatively on the service delivery if not addressed. Now, what is your institution doing apart from giving loans? Because we have seen in our civil service and in our government, other government agencies, that people are taking loan and they are not paying it. Understands? But loan, in fact, loan is not the only factor to motivate the civil service. What other factors is your institution doing to motivate the civil servant, apart from giving them loan to build houses and having vehicles? What other packages are you using in order to make sure that we have effective and efficient civil service?
Okay, I think the point is clear.
But I just want to report it. Thank you, sir. Thank you. No, well, the process has actually begun. I think that's what we are saying. Has not existed before. So this is a new package. Now there are many others. Facilities which are available to motivate civil servants. For example, training. Training is an important quite a lot of young people would want to stay in the civil service because of training. Now, having left the university, as soon as you come to the what you call civil service, if you do well, of course, you are assessed, and eventually you go for postgraduate studies. That's another one. Now, we've just started getting what you call again the health insurance. Health insurance also is coming in. But of course, this you've just passed that as an act now. It's going to take off very soon. And the intention, of course, is to benefit public servants essentially, and of course the rest of the population. Now, what about the what do you call it again? The pensions. You know, there is the pension bill, which is hopefully would eventually become an act. Now, the idea is at the end of one service, of course, that is a long shot sort of thing. But at the end of your service, you have a very healthy pension scheme. Of course, when you want to get into a career, you think of your existing position and eventually the end of your career. So if you're going to have a good pension, I mean, a health insurance, even maybe after your retirement, I think that's something to help you to stick into the service. So we last time, our last session when we were doing the presentation, I did report that some of my colleagues, some of the commissioners were in the provinces. They were in the provinces. We have a very important program which we call an outreach program. The intention, of course, is really to visit public servants, civil servants at their work sites and ascertain their condition of service. That's what they were doing. They went to, well, I think, Chair, maybe I can give an opportunity to one of my colleagues to make a, if you don't mind.
I mean, as long as the focus is
on the issue, yes.
And
yes.
maybe with for the guidance, the objective is not for the commission to be put on the spot to try to explain that there is progress.
Yes.
The objective is to really inquire into the problem. We said that the problem could be as a result of the conditions of service. So if that is the case, one would expect for you to elaborate on those conditions. What constitute the conditions of service which leads competent servants to exit? So to elaborate them. And then what motivation, because it could be lack of motivation. So what should be the motivation to retain them? You know, those should be very clear in your analysis. And eventually you should project on them and say A, B, C, and D would be seen as condition of service which had been inquired into or needs to be inquired into, and motivation is this. And it means that as a commission, one would expect that you will facilitate a study that will make a comparative analysis between what is happening, where they are going. If there is evidence, where are they going? So it means that by tracking them to find out what is happening there as condition of service. And that is different from what we have in the central government. And then ultimately, could there be a synchronization and ensuring that those conditions of service are also replicated at the level of government? Or what motivates those people actually also replicate? So that is really the trend. And that as you give us information, and our recommendation will go in that direction. So be as incisive as possible and tell us what the shortcomings are. It's not really saying that we are doing a good job or bad job. Let's discover the shortcomings and come up with solution.
Thank you.
Yes, you may
Chair, I think we would allow one of my colleagues.
Yes.
Suare, Babacar, you give an insight into what you have been.
Actually, we decided that we should go out to the motions, especially in the upper regions. We started from Region 3